So far in our discussion, we all discussed that we do need to hear divine knowledge, but this knowledge has to be brought to the point of implementation by contemplating on it. That contemplation must then be translated into deep decision within, this is it. And that enables us to realize that knowledge and put it in practice. So we then started discussing the knowledge, and we pondered that this mind is of paramount importance. The mind needs to be uplifted. So we discussed how the afflictions of the mind arise when we repeatedly contemplate happiness somewhere. Our mind becomes attached. This results in desire. Desire, when fulfilled, leads to greed, and when unfulfilled, leads to anger. But this whole thing can be diverted to develop the right desires by contemplating happiness in the proper place, thereby resulting in attachment there. So we discussed where is true happiness. And yesterday we analyzed that God is the ocean of happiness. We are all His tiny parts, and hence we all have the inherent yearning for happiness without anyone ever having taught us or trained us. But the problem is that having turned our backs to God, we have been covered by this ignorance of the material energy. And we have forgotten that we are spiritual souls. We are seeing ourselves as this material bodies. Hence, we are looking for happiness in the bodily direction. But in this pursuit, nobody ever became happy. So we have to now decide that the unlimited divine bliss I'm looking for is in God. So how do we turn around to God? Why are we in this position? She is demonstrating darkness. So what do you all prefer?
Light.
Light. Okay? So why are we all in darkness? Why have we got our backs to God? Why doesn't He make us straight? He is all powerful, He is our kind-hearted Father. He is known in this world as the ocean of mercy and grace. When we've got such a divine Father, why is the situation of His children so miserable? Is it not in His power to help us, or is He actually kind-hearted and terrible, worse than worldly fathers? What ultimately is the problem? We shall analyze this and then come out with the solution. One soul says, "Oh God, should I reveal my mind to you today?" God said, "Go ahead. You will not like it." God said, "Never mind. I'm used to it." He is the knower of all minds. So all that we think against him, he knows. Somebody says God is the opiate of the masses, somebody says what does God do, and he knows everything. So he says, I am used to all the complaints of the souls. What is your complaint? Now the soul said, Api garta mukhe gata shishuhu pathikena pinivaryate java janakena patanam havarnave anivaryo bhavata katham vibhu. Oh God, in the world, if a newborn child is fallen in a ditch and a passerby happens to see the child, that person is naturally moved to pity. Lifts up the child, feeds the child, quietens it affectionately, endeavors to locate this child's parents, and if they are not locatable, deposits the child in some orphanage or some police station. But nobody is so hard-hearted to throw that helpless child back into the ditch. Go, die. This much of pity, O Lord, even we human beings have got. I'll say, I admit, human beings do have the virtue of pity, of compassion. Otherwise, they are not humans, they are demons. But what is it you wish to say? What is your insinuation? The soul said, God, we are also your helpless little children. We have fallen in this ditch of material existence, and many lifetimes have gone by. We are being knocked around by these waves of the material energy. We are in ignorance, suffering, miserable. You are our eternal Father. You are seeing our plight, and yet you are not feeling pity upon us. Because if you had felt pity, a glance of your grace was all that was required. Our illusion would be dispelled. We would get equipped with your divine knowledge and bliss and be released from this condition forever. In endless lifetimes you did not feel pity upon us even once. What kind of father are you? The soul said this to God, and don't make excuses. If you say, oh soul, you are not coming to me, you come to my door, I shall bestow my grace. But God, I don't know the way to your door. I am admitting, I am in ignorance. But you don't have any excuses because you are all-knowing, omniscient. And you are known in this world by many names. Akaran, Karuna, Varnalaya, the ocean of grace and mercy. Quickly bestow your grace on me or your good name will get tainted. The soul leveled this accusation upon God. Bestow your grace. I'm blackmailing you. God said, oh soul, you have said something very big today. I am supposed to be soft-hearted, and you have said I am cruel and hard-hearted. But tell me, you claimed, God, you are my Father, why don't you bestow your grace? My question is, do you actually feel that I am your Father? Do you actually believe that I am your Father? Why do you believe? You believe your worldly father is your father, your worldly mother is your mother. And God must be Father, but 5%, 95%, I will get his property, so he's my real father. God says, I am waiting for the day when you actually accept me as your Father. You go into the temple and you say, Tvameva Mata Chupita Tvameva. But do you actually believe it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Tumhara horn yadi kahe ek baar, just say once from within, Oh God, you alone are mine. The work will be done. God says, I want to grace you. But do you know, when I grace you, what will I give? And what do I want in return? The soul said, I don't know, God. Well, first of all, find out what do I give and what do I take. In American language, they say there are no free lunches. So the soul said, all right, God, let me hear you now. So God revealed his condition. The Rig Veda, he says, Todasyev Sharan Avahas. It's very simple. You surrender to me, and you will receive my grace. You have come in my world. My rules are applicable to you. Why don't you follow them? If you go to China, you'll have to follow the Chinese rules. If you go to Russia, you'll have to live by the Russian rules. You are in my world. Why don't you accept my divine will? Again he says, Udutishta swadhvarastavano devya kripa. If with faith you can once surrender yourself, immediately my grace will intervene. Please listen to all this. Please sit quietly. Now I'm going to ask you a question at the end. And if you can answer, you get a prize. Okay? Take this bag and keep it. Keep it like this. This bottle. So, God says that with faith you surrender to me once, and my divine grace shall intervene. In a moment, all this illusion will be dispelled. You will receive the divine knowledge that you have been hankering for, the divine love that will satisfy you, and the divine bliss that will make you contented. He says again and again, I have repeated this instruction of mine in all the scriptures of the world. Humble yourself under the mighty hands of God, and He shall exalt you in due course. This is the Bible saying. The Quran Sharif is beginning from here. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmuddin. This is the first ayat of the first chapter. And the first portion of this ayat is repeated in every chapter. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah Miya Khudawan Ta'ala is a nation of grace and mercy. When you surrender to Him, you will receive His grace. In Buddhism, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Sharan. Now all the Indians understand the meaning of Sharan. This is not Sanskrit language. This is Pali language that was spoken at the time of the Buddha. He said, surrender. Dutiyampi Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Same concept of surrender. And in Jain religion, Sharanagata Bhavane Hitta Vatsala Tuhi Kripa Rasa Sindhu Namo. O ocean of grace and mercy, You have this rule that if somebody surrenders to you, you will bestow your grace. I am following that rule. Please grace me. And the Sikh religion, Kisu Sharanai Chutiye Kita Lode Surkoi. This material bondage in which we find ourselves will be released from it if we surrender ourselves. So God says, listen, I have explained my rule on all the religious traditions and all the Vedic scriptures they carry it. Etadalambanam Shreshtham Etadalambanam Param. Again, the Kathopanishad of the Yajurveda. The Rig Veda has got it in 12 places. When Sanskrit scholars read the Vedas, they say the Vedas have got the blemish of punarukti. If some message is repeated again and again, from a literary viewpoint, it is considered a blemish, punarukti. So, Sanskrit Pandits, when they read the Vedas, they say there's this blemish of punarukti, repetition. Is it that God's memory was weak, so he said something, then he forgot, and again he repeated it? God says, no, I am omniscient. My memory is not weak. But the people who are going to read these, their memory is weak. They hear and then they forget. So to ensure that those principles get imprinted inside, I have repeated the message again and again. Otherwise, there was no need for such extensive scriptures. 400,000 verses in 18 Puranas. The Mahabharata has got 100,000 verses. All that knowledge could have been simply given. Like there is the one shloki, one verse Ramayana. Adauram tapo manadi gamanam hatva mrigam kanjanam vaidehi haranam jatayu maranam sugriva sambhashanam bali nigrahanam samudra taranam lankapuri dahanam paschad ravana kumbhakarna hananam chaita dhiramayanam. Ramayana is over. One villager from UP, he said, एक था राम एक रावण उन्होंने उनकी नार हरना उन्होंने उनको मारना इतनी बात की बात अन्ना तुलसी रच गए पोथन्ना. Well, that is a joke, but the point is that the principle has been reiterated again and again. Surrender yourself. Look what the Bhagavad Gita states. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Sri Krishna says, Arjuna, this material energy called maya is very difficult to overcome. And because the mind is made from the material energy, the mind is very difficult to conquer. You keep on reading all the books on positive thinking, and the mind will refuse to conform. There was I met this person who does personality development workshops in corporate houses, teaching them, think like this, don't think like this. So I said, tell me frankly, how many people change as a result of your workshops? He said, Swamiji, 2%. That's how difficult it is. It's easy to hear, but to control this mind is an altogether different matter. It's not going to happen by your willpower. Sri Krishna says this material energy is my energy, and thus it has my power behind it. If anybody can conquer it, that person has conquered God. Can anybody conquer God? No. Similarly, nobody can conquer Maya, the material energy. So Arjuna said, my Lord, then how will I be saved? Sri Krishna says, Arjuna, very simple. Mami vaye prapadyante mayam hitantarati. You surrender to me. I shall take you across this energy by my grace, by my superior energy. Just like, let us say you wish to meet your friend and you land up at your friend's place for the first time. That person has got a pet dog. There's a sign on the board, beware of dog, but you did not read that. So casually you're opening the gate when you hear a growling sound. You say, there's no clouds, how come thunder is coming? Oh, this German shepherd with all its fury. Quickly shut the latch. And you wonder, is there a back gate to enter? You go around, you reach the back gate, but the dog is also coming. Do you have the guts to come in? No, I don't have the guts to tackle you. Now that dog is so atrocious, there is no way to go across it. All your efforts fail. Finally, you take the help of its master. Sharma ji, your dog is troubling me. Sharma ji comes out. Oh, Smokey. Smokey, come here. Now the master has called Smokey. He comes and he sits down by the side with his tail between the two legs. And you walk in bravely. There is no problem. So you got across the dog not by your effort, but by taking shelter of its master. So the Bhagavad Gita says, in the same way, this material energy is troubling you through the body, through the mind, through interpersonal relationships, etc. It is also an energy of God. It's only troubling you for a purpose. It's inducing you, pushing you towards Him. There is no happiness here. Go to His feet. So when you surrender to God, says, my work is done, I release you. So the Bhagavad Gita is giving this message. The Ramayana says the same thing. Sanmukha jiva hohi mohi jabahi janma koti aghanasahi tabahi. It says that consider this situation, that it's pouring heavily, torrential rain, and in that rain you place a bucket to harvest the rainwater. Leave the bucket in the rain for 2 hours. After 2 hours, you would have gathered a lot of water. Check it out. How much water is there in the bucket? Not a drop. How is this possible? Water has been pouring, cats and dogs, and you are trying to gather it in the bucket, and there is not a drop that has collected. The problem is, the bucket is upside down. Turn it around. See how quickly the water fills up. Similarly, the grace of God is showering. There is no deficiency in it. But we have turned our backs. So we are bereft of it. All we need to do is turn around. This turn around is what surrender is. So God says, listen, I have revealed my law, the eternal law. You want divine grace, you need to surrender. The soul says, that's all right, God. But is it not possible that we don't surrender and still use to your grace? What does that mean? I mean, you are not bound by any laws. Laws are for us unfortunate, tiny souls, we are subservient. You are free to do what you like. We surrender and you bestow your grace. We don't surrender, still you bestow your grace. God says it doesn't work like that. Laws are everywhere. Like there are laws for the body. Eat in proper limits. If you overeat, you will fall sick. If you undereat, you will fall sick. Sleep in limits. If you oversleep, nature will punish you. If you undersleep, again nature will punish you. Everywhere there are rules. These celestial bodies are moving according to rules. Such fine rules that if there's a little change, they will all collapse. So God says, I also operate or administer this world according to my spiritual rules. I am not whimsical. I feel like, I don't feel like. I have my rules. Karma pradhan, vishwa kari rakha, jo jas karai, so tas phal chakha. This exact translation is in the Bible. As you sow, that shall you also reap. God says, this is my rule. There is no modification there. Hence, Dashrath was the father of Ram, but he passed away. Kaushalya became a widow. Lord Ram did not save his father. Kaushalya could have demanded, God is my son, save my husband. Ram says, who is who? Whoever has got whatever account, they shall get accordingly. It's not some kind of a homely affair that the judge has become the child, so there shall be some concession. These decisions will be made in the court. God says, that is why I am respected in this world. If I started behaving whimsically, people's faith would be shattered. How is that? Consider that there was one father. He had two sons. He instructed them both to go and work in the field. The paddy field, the rice field, the cultivation was to be done, a lot of hard work, planting the saplings. So he told them, work from morning till night. The first son worked, sweated it out in the sun, toiled hard, and when he returned at night, the father said, well done, my son, you have worked hard. You have $500, do what you like. His faith would get shattered. He would say, this is the reward policy of my father. If he has no respect for hard work, dedication, loyalty, then why should I work hard? I will also lie on my bed, relax, sleep, drink, smoke. I'll get the remuneration in any case. Just like, in India, we have these public sector organizations, government-owned companies, and no work gets done there. You go to office and just spend your time moving around the file, and then the tea comes, you drink tea, go to each other's desk, and by the time the tea is finished, it is lunchtime. Why? Because there are no consequences. There are time-bound promotions. Whether you do anything or you don't do anything, the promotion continues time-bound. So nobody does any work. And the same Indians, they come to USA. And people say these Indians are very hard-working. So one Indian in Houston, he came to me, he retired at the age of 60 and he joined a government organization. And he was telling me his experience. He said, Swami2, the government organizations in USA are just like the government organizations in India. Everything is time bound, there are no consequences. God says, no, I don't have that kind of protectionist philosophy. You get what you deserve. And that brings out the best in you. God says, listen, if I was to bestow my grace without your surrender, all those saints, they would complain. They will say, oh Lord, what has gone wrong? We endeavored through lifetimes of practice and reached that perfection and received your grace. You gave it to the soul in free fund. What was the purpose of our surrender? So he says, I go by the rules. If you want grace, understand my rules and surrender. You don't want grace? All right, don't surrender. No, my Lord, we want grace, but we don't want to surrender. God says, that will not be. So the eternal law, the eternal principle is clear and it's well known. But let us delve further. What is the meaning of surrender? What does surrender really mean? It's one thing to say, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. But what does this Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama mean? What am I supposed to do? What am I not supposed to do? What does it all boil down to? So, let us do a little bit of chanting and then we shall look into the concept of surrender. So we are going to chant again the simple names of God. This is chanting number 6. Sri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki. We came to this conclusion and understanding that we need to surrender to God. Now, what does this boil down to in practical terms? What is the meaning of this term? What does this concept entail? It has got 6 aspects to it. These have been described. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati ki vishvaso gotritve varnam tatha atmanikshepa karpanye shadvidha sharanagati. The same verses in the Vayu Puran, the Ahirbudhini Samhita and the Bhakti Rasamrita. They are all describing the 6 aspects of surrender. So this is very practical knowledge for each of us to implement in practice. The first aspect, to desire in accordance with the desire of God. In other words, we conform our will with His will. What does He want? That is what I want. Mirabai expressed this. If Sri Krishna wants me to laugh, I will laugh. If He wants me to cry, I will cry. If He wishes to illuminate me with His divine bliss, so be it. If He wishes to shower His affection by embracing, so be it. If He wishes to ignore me, never mind. मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई जाके से मोर मुकुट मेरो पति सोई. She keeps the divine sentiments towards Him intact, no matter how the Lord behaves. So to desire according to His desire. The second one, not to desire against the desire of God. This is the same as the first point, but just to emphasize it has been reversed and negated. So if desire according to His desire, then the second point, don't desire against God's desire. Now, when God gives us prosperity, health, comfort, Do we desire against it? Do we complain? Why did God make me prosperous? No, nobody complains. But when, according to our own karmas, we get a little adverse situation, immediately we raise the red flag. Why is God doing this to me? The moment we harbor this thought, why is God doing this to me? The surrender out there is finished. Because we are desiring against His desire. The efforts are in our hands. The results are in the hands of God. Do your best efforts. Nobody is saying don't endeavor. Put in your best efforts. Whatever the results, accept them as the will of God. So this principle is illustrated through a humorous story. There was some people crossing a river in a boat, when all of a sudden the boatman exclaimed, "This boat is being sucked towards the whirlpool. There's a whirlpool in front. It's out of my control. God alone can save us now. Pray to God, all of you." There was pandemonium in the boat. Each person started praying to God in their own way. The devotee of Hanuman took out Hanuman Chalisa, the devotee of Mother Durga took out the Durga Saptashati, somebody started saying Jai Siya Ram, somebody Hare Krishna. There was one sadhu, one ascetic in the boat. So he was undisturbed. He took out his ascetic's pot, filled the river water and placed it in the boat. Jai Siya Ram. He did it repeatedly. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram. People said, "What are you doing, Babaji? We are already precariously poised and you are making the situation even more delicate." He was not willing to listen. Just taking the water, putting it in, Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram. Within 10 minutes, the boatman, he said, "Don't worry, the danger has passed, the whirlpool has gone away. It's all right." Everybody heaved a sigh of relief. This sadhu, the water he had filled up in the boat, he started filling it and tossing it into the river. Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram, Jai Siya Ram. People said, "Babaji, are you slightly crazy? In any case, we have doubts about these sadhus. There's something wrong with their head. Why is it that they renounce the whole world, but you seem to be having all your screws loose inside? You were first putting the river water into the boat and now you're putting the boat water into the river. Can you please explain your actions?" He said, "Listen, I don't know the will of God. I only try and guess. See, before God realization, you can only make your best guess and go accordingly. You don't know for sure." So when he said that this boat is now being drawn towards the whirlpool, there is no way we can be saved, I thought maybe God wants that we should all die. All right, let me help him out. But then he said after 10 minutes that the whirlpool has moved away. So I said, maybe God has changed his mind, or I didn't understand his will probably. He wants us all to be saved. All right, let me help him out. Now that, of course, is a humorous story, but the principle of surrender, to conform our will with the will of God. And many Christian saints have said this one single act can make you God realized. Third point of surrender. To have faith that He is protecting me. This faith that He is always protecting me. Bhojana chhadane chinta vritha kurvanti vaishnava yosau vishvambharo devo sa bhaktan kimupekshate. He is Vishwambhar, who takes care of the whole world. Then why should we fear? There's the story of this naval officer. After marriage, he went on the boat, on the ship with his wife for her first voyage on the sea. Now a storm developed and the boat was rocking from side to side. People in the boat had become fearful. This naval officer was fearless. His wife said, "My dear husband, you have no fear." He took out his sword and placed the blade on her head. He said, "Are you fearful?" She said, "Absolutely not." He said, "Why not?" "Because the sword is in your hands, and I know you are my well-wisher. What is there to fear?" He said, "Similarly, I have faith that the ship is in the hands of God, and He is our well-wisher. Whatever He does will be for our eternal well-being. Hence I have no fear." So this faith comes from surrender. Where there is surrender, fear disappears. Where there is fear, there is lack of surrender. God is taking care of all living beings. You see, in India, if you place a little bit of food stuff on the table, within 6 hours there's a line of ants that has come there to eat it. In America, I don't see ants in the houses. But in India, you see this. So since I was a little child, I would wonder, how come the ants came to know there's food out there? There was no smell as such of the food. I placed some item which doesn't have smell, but the ants still come. And there were no ants visible around. And it's not that they were taking an evening walk and casually discovered. And they don't have access to GPS. So I asked many scientists, how do these ants come? No. Nobody gave a solid enough answer. So I decided that ultimately God is seated in every ant. And He's inspiring them. You climb the leg of this table, you get your food there. That is why the Bible says, "O ye of little faith, why do you worry for the morrow? Look at the birds in the field. They neither plough the land nor sow the seeds, nor reap and harvest nor store in barns, yet our heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more than they?" The birds don't have some barns to store, and yet God is taking care of them on a daily basis. If we surrender ourselves, He will definitely take care. This faith is the third aspect of surrender. These are to be developed, cultivated, enhanced. It will not come automatically. It's a slow process. Fourth, to feel gratitude for all the little graces we have received. One is that ultimate grace that comes as a tidal wave when you are liberated, eternally united. On the way, we have received so many little graces. The human body itself is by His grace. We did not create it. He protected us for 9 months when we were hanging upside down in the mother's womb. And when we came out, He had this whole world ready for us, all the foodstuffs to eat. I asked one lady, she had invited me to her house for lunch, and I said, "Who made this sabzi, this vegetable?" "Swami2, I made it." "Did you make the potatoes or did you make the cauliflower?" "No, that my husband purchased, I only cooked." So who made them? It's God's technology that mud gets converted into edibles. No scientist can match that technology. You have mud put in from one side of the factory line, and the other side you have oranges coming out. So God's technology is creating all this food stuff for us. Feel gratitude? And you can do without food for many days, but you can't do without air for even 5 minutes. And He's made it more abundantly available all around us. The earth that we walk upon, the light that we receive, so to feel gratitude. That's the fourth point. The reverse is ungratefulness. Tell a child, your father has done so much for you. Feel gratitude. He says, why should I feel gratitude? He's doing his duty. His father did for him, he's doing for me. This is ungratefulness. So to feel gratitude is the fourth point of surrender. And the fifth point, to have the sentiment that all I possess is actually His. When the whole world is His, then how can I claim proprietorship over it? Ramakrishna Paramahansa said that God smiles on two occasions. The first time He smiles is when two brothers, when the son is unwell and the doctor has come, and doctor declares proudly to the mother, don't worry, I shall save your son. God smiles, Mr. Doctor, life and death is not decided by you, it's decided by me. You simply treat, I'm the one who cures. And the second time God smiles is when two brothers divide their father's property. They measure the ground with the tapes and construct fences and put up boards. One says, this is mine. The second says, this is mine. God smiles, what is yours in this world? You came empty-handed, you shall leave empty-handed. So to have this faith that everything I have is actually His is the fifth point of surrender. And the sixth point, to surrender and also surrender the pride of having surrendered. Not to permit the pride to come. Oh, I have done this wonderful feat. But to keep the sentiment that if I could do it, it was His grace that worked this way. There was one sadhu who performed austerities on a boulder, sitting on it for 12 years. After 12 years, he experienced a divine thrill, a bliss in his heart, and his head, intellect being illumined. He had a divine experience, and he heard a voice speaking. God was speaking to him. God was saying, O sadhu, I am pleased with your austerities. Ask what you want. The sadhu said, of course, God, I will ask. I have worked hard for 12 years. Why should I not ask? God was quiet. Then after a little gap, God said, Sadhu, are you asking for the results of your hard work, or are you asking for my causeless grace? The sadhu said, oh God, who is concerned with your causeless grace? Give me the result of my austerities and hard work. God was again quiet. After a little gap, the boulder on which the sadhu was sitting, started speaking. The boulder said, oh God, now this sadhu has descended to the level of settling his accounts with you. Please also settle my accounts with him. He has been sitting on my head for 12 years. For the next 12 years, make me sit on his head. Sadhu realized you can't settle accounts with God. His grace is always causeless. You cannot say, I am so great, I have got grace. To be humble and to surrender the pride of surrender is the sixth point. God says, listen, my rule is very clear. You effect such a kind of surrender. And you will receive that divine grace. That is my promise in all the scriptures around the world. So when we have understood this concept, how do we implement it? How do we bring it about?